All right, Janet, here we are again. It's always a pleasure to be with you and get your insights and expertise. Just wondering, the question we're getting asked a lot right now is, should I buy or should I wait? So from your perspective and what you're seeing, what are the benefits from buying right now?
So first of all, my advice would be to buy now. And I'll just give you an example from someone that I'm currently working with. So I was actually able to negotiate in benefit of a buyer. And if anyone has been abreast of real estate in the last few years, you would know that this has been pretty near impossible. There have been a lot of times when my buyers would say to me in these last few years, they'd say, oh God, like that's insane. Like, would you do that? And I'd have to be like, no, of course I wouldn't do that. And so they're like, well, so why would we do that? And I was like, well, do you want a house? I mean, it has been a roller coaster. It has been like a heart pounding. I mean, I have sweat bullets. I have felt very like afraid, because how do you advise someone? Yeah, sure. Like, just give them 30 grand, just give it to them more than what it's worth. Yeah, no, do all these crazy things, I mean, but it kind of came down to the question that I always had to say was, well, do we want to buy a house? Like, these are our options right now. So it was pretty amazing. I had a client come to me. We needed to make an offer contingent upon the sale of their house. That is a scary offer to make, because most sellers, any other offer is going to kick you out of place. Any other offer that doesn't have a contingency, ours happened to be a home to sell. So that meant that any other buyer who's like, I don't have a house to sell, they could just kick us right out of place. That is not a nice feeling to have when you're trying to buy a house, and not a strong negotiation point to come from. So that was a massive benefit. And the first time I've been able to help a client get under contract in that kind of a situation, with not being able to secure it without the sale of their home. The other thing that we were able to do was, like, we didn't go crazy on the price. Like, we just kind of were like, sure, like, we'll just negotiate this nice little negotiation. And we really want the house to appraise for that price. So voila, like, we were able to like make some negotiations. If for some reason the appraisal didn't come out, like, we can do some negotiations. We can adjust the price, because maybe there was a little issue there. And we were able to do it contingent upon inspections. Like, oh my gosh, I felt like we won the lottery, because I was like, okay, so if there's a bad furnace, we could actually be like, hey, your furnace isn't working. And they'd be like, okay, let's come to an agreement. So it's been the first time in forever. There is like this breath of fresh air. There's this window opening. There's this little opportunity that people should just grab, because I feel like there's so many fence sitters and there's so many people that have just hesitated, that are kind of just waiting. They're waiting for someone to give them the green light. They're waiting for the news media to be like, okay, green light, now you can buy a house. And those who are brave enough and bold enough to jump in right now are really making a sound decision, in my opinion. But what are your thoughts, Scott?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's nobody has a crystal ball, right? And Zach and I have always said, and we've told our clients this, if you're buying a house and you're going to sell it in a year, just don't bother. But if you're going to keep it for a few years, you're probably going to come out ahead. I just ran across a quote from Dave Ramsey earlier this morning that might be of interest to all of you. He says, right now is the best time to buy a house in the next 5 years. And here's why. Prices are not going to go down. They're going to go up slower, but they're not going to go down. And so 5 years from today, houses are going to be more expensive. So this is the best price right now if you're going to buy a house. If interest rates come back down, refinance, but don't not buy waiting on interest rates to come down. And I thought that's really good advice, because you could look at any 5-year slice of time in the history of real estate, and somebody would have come out ahead by buying and living in a house for 5 years. And, I agree with what he's saying. We do think interest rates will come down, but prices could be higher next year, which is something I'd like to have Zach speak to. Zach, if you were giving advice to a close friend or a family member right now, what would you say?
Well, the biggest thing we're seeing right now is the Fed's fighting inflation. So as long as we're seeing high inflation numbers, the Fed's going to continue to bump the Fed's funds rate, you know. And so with that being the case, I think the window of opportunity might be 3 months, it might be 5 months, but eventually sometime between now and the end of the year, we're going to start to see those inflation numbers coming down. And the Fed's then going to start lowering interest rates, which is going to cause more buyers to say, hey, now's my opportunity, you know, we're back in the 4% interest rates, different things like that. And so as I look at this, if I'm a buyer, I'm saying, hey, let's figure it out. Let's get pre-approved. Let's get our ducks in a row. So that way, when the right home comes and we're able to get the right negotiation, we're ready to go.
For
Yeah.
sure. Mhm. Mhm. So I think the biggest message that we have for everybody is like, jump in, give us a call, lean on us for our expertise. So if you or someone you know is looking to buy a home right now, let's help them figure it out, because we do believe that now is the best time to buy.
Thanks.